Translation, no.
Well, I would say that's a very interesting concept to look into. If there are those individuals here in the district that could provide those services, it would be something that maybe we could look at. We would need building level admin to support that and look at that and see if that would be available within the daily schedule for some of those services. Utilize differently. So you're looking at things differently from that perspective.
So that sounds like a joint report from that side of the table.
Well, because you're looking at your learning support teachers who are working with kids on site here face to face, taking time out of their day to work with cyber school kids, is what Eric is saying. So that is where you would, it is working with schedules to see if there is any time in their day to take away from the kids they're working with here and supporting, and then having them go on to the students who are in LinkedIn, and then also knowing them for great development and supporting them in that great development, which is not our.
Which would be not any different than a regular ed teacher, instead of covering the study hall, having cyber phys ed. So, yes, there are a lot of curveballs I can throw, but you're looking at those dynamics that also save on that cost of not paying for a cyber school instructor.
And you might not know the answer to this, but do you know what the cost difference is between sending a student to LinkedIn versus having them in our in-house?
You're probably half the cost.
Okay, one more. On May 29th, there was a pretty significant amount to Sun Coach Line from January to March for $387,000, $892.61. So what is that for?
That would be from September through now of their billing they give not given us for that point.
Okay, who is Sun Coach Line?
That would be Lincoln Coach or Lincoln Bus that we currently contract with is not providing their invoices after several requests until finally they did all at one fell.
And they want, oh my gosh, that is awful.
And
So can we look at changing to something else? If that's
fortunately,
what
we
we're gonna
are
offer?
under contract until 2026 and 2027.
Okay, so one more year.
Two on the special needs and one on the non-budget.
That makes it hard to budget.
Well, it's within the budget, we're just, we need those for
I thought,
requirements,
oh my
because
gosh.
it's just, they're all, do not give us go time.
They're just billing once a year. That appears easier on them.
I don't believe that's correct.
Oh, yeah. Okay, well, thank you so much for clarifying, I really appreciate it.
So, we're looking at L, and we got, we talked about the general fund checks, we're always talking about this. 2 to 8, is there any other?
I wanted to discuss on L1, I'm sorry. Tom, can I ask you a question? With recent solicitor bills, last month being $6,238.50, what have you put in the budget for a cap amount this year? I thought last year was $40,000.
It's the exact same.
It's the exact same as $40,000, but we've exceeded that.
We did not up or down the legal arena from last year. I believe it's between both general and special needs, both those combined, a little higher than that. I don't know the exact off the top of my head, but that would be just like the general services. We also have a lot of other special services.
But we still went over to $40,000.
I didn't even look at that in particular.
Oh, I had it above 33 before you added the 6,000 recently, so I would say, yeah. And I'm curious. 40?
We'll take a look. We'll take a look. I thought it was around 40 or 50. I can't recall.
We're on 60 or 65, all those services combined. Now, which, like, how much of each, I don't know off the top of my head.
Well, I know that stock leaders, oh, I'm sorry.
You're saying the 40 is just the general or it's for both?
Correct, but if special needs were not used the full amount, it would funnel into general service, which is right now that we have earmarked amounts.
I mean, Dwayne telling him that 40 is just for general, or it's for the two?
That would be just for general.
So if they did go, it'd be for other things, not just general.
Cool, thanks.
Okay, is there any other thoughts or questions on L2 through 8? Or need to read them out?
That would have.
Okay, I guess that's.
Carl's gonna make.
What about M2?
No.
Oh, we're just noting it.
That's next week.
Oh. Yeah, I wanted to ask Tom a question on that anyway, if we could, it's just noted. Our financing expenditures, Tom, as I wrote in here, were over $4 million, up from $2.15 million last year. So do you expect us to exceed the $4.18 million this coming year?
This one, no, that would be, they are 1-for-1 what, essentially what our mortgage would be. There's no upper balance.
Okay.
It should be almost to the dollar. Like, we round the dollar up, so it could be
Right.
some change, but it should be almost exactly to that.
Okay, thank you.
You're done?
Early vote.
Right. I'm gonna try not to do this.
Wait a minute now.
I just have to give you a heads up.
Well, we're gonna have to items A through E are typical personnel items, resignations, hires, and transfers. The monthly passage of these standard personnel items is a priority to allow the district to remain operational and recruit and retain quality staff. Are there any questions on personnel items A through E?
Yes.
Okay.
I do, sorry, I have two. Just wanted some clarification. Letter C, you have the 2025 critical supplemental hires. I have a question because it sounds like we're going from 3 teaching teams back down to a 2 teaching team on these, correct?
On C.
On C, yes. Isn't that the one with the 2 fifth grade teachers?
Yeah.
Who want to get together and figure out curriculum? Okay, so my question is, how many years have we been 3 teaching teams?
I want to say 3 or 4, but I don't.
Okay,
I
Think it's
believe,
longer?
I don't believe it was all that long because we moved in when I started in 2021. I don't believe that we were in 3 teams, we were in teams of 2. So it's been back in the previous administration.
okay.
Not really.
Didn't we discuss this in the
Three.
meeting?
No.
No, they didn't.
No, this is supplemental contract. This is for work that's going to take place over the summer.
Well, that's my question. It sounds like they want to go, we're going back to 2 teaching teams, but shouldn't that be pretty simple? Now, look, the one teacher I absolutely love and adore, my son loves and adores her too. I'm not saying they don't need that, but with just having that, is it necessary to go back? What exactly are they going to be looking at? They only did three teams of teachers for the last 3 years, and they're going back to 2 teams of teachers. I guess my question is, how difficult is that to go back to? I know they had like a science teacher, a math teacher, and an ELA teacher. So are they just trying to figure out who's going to be teaching what again?
And working it back into those time frames of only 2 teacher teams versus 3. So if I'm teaching ELA and social studies, like what does that look like to my day and putting that curriculum back into my portion of the day versus when the students are with their math and science teacher? And then I would say the other part of that is there's been a lot of movement over the last couple of years as students been teaching in grades 4 and 5. So a lot of these partnerships are new as well. So that's, I think it's really a lot of planning and aligning this summer for those person teams.
It is the first step in trying to maintain consistency within the elementary school because of the amount of change that has happened over several years. So it is also a balance of trying to maintain an elementary setting while preparing our students for success in the middle school, where it is departmentalized and it's middle and high, so it's a, So it's a matter of balancing those two things, and just as Dr. Crichton said, trying to make sure that our teachers have the best foot forward moving forward.
Letter D, number 1, the transfer of the building principal. I recall at several times at the meetings we had over the last couple of months, 6 months, that we weren't going to do anything until the merge happened. So I guess I'm a little confused at this.
Mrs. Glass was currently doing this on a modified contract put together by the previous administration, which is somewhat haphazard, I would say. And she just received her certificate that actually is an administrative certificate. So all the work that Mrs. Glass has been doing while she was called a middle school assistant principal has actually been a dean of students, where she has not been able to evaluate or work with staff. This is a transfer to allow her to begin that process in 12 months and provide her an opportunity so that she doesn't get her certificate and leave like others have.
Wait, I understand that, but my concern with this is that we don't know what the merge is going to look like with the middle school coming up and the high school.
Correct.
So, I mean, is it something we have to do right now? Can we wait?
Is this worded properly? Because she's not a building principal. I thought she is.
She's an assistant principal, and she's moving into an assistant principal. It's a difference between 10 months and
Why
12
does it
months.
say building principal?
Should say assistant?
Well, I'm just saying.
You're assistant.
Board secretary.
You're gonna talk.
Also, we've got me, Carl, Nick, and Steve who went through and looked at it and reviewed it. It should say assistant principal.
Not building
Yeah,
principal.
correct.
Correct. So is Kara not currently in the Act 93?
She is in the Act 93, but her contract is different because it's being paid more like a. Yeah, with days that she doesn't report here, that she uses and tries to coordinate. It makes it much more efficient and better for Dr. Berryman and the other principals to plan when we know she's going to be here.
Does she currently get the 10-month assistant principal salary that's in the Act 93?
There is an increase in pay, and she has received her principal certificate as well as her supervisor of special education certification. It was a dual certificate. It's reimbursement. Yeah. 50%, yeah. We had an individual that left the middle school a few years back that left from what I would say would be a competitive salary on our current Act 93 to make approximately $30,000 a year more to a local district that's at almost 40,000. I'm just saying, this is the opportunity to try to make sure that we build those relationships and make sure that the staff that we have, that we want to retain, are able to be retained and understand that we value them and support them.
Okay, so I missed one. B1, the math teacher that we're hiring for the 6th grade. I thought we weren't hiring anybody.
Yeah, that was this is the 6th grade, Mr. Barton.
Yes.
The other one was Mr. Myers. His did not get filled.
Oh, okay. Thank you for clarifying.
Sure. I don't know. It's not there.
We can't pull it up right now.
Here.
Well,
I
just
don't
check it.
know.
Well,
I think it's just the personal information.
well, I couldn't get past a certain part of it.
I think that's it. I think it's a weird one.
That was cut off right.
Yeah, that's it. That's just.
Are we good
This
for
is exactly the topic.
Yes.
A through E? We're good. Item F is the approval of a leave without pay request for a support staff member that must be approved by the board in accordance with policy 39. Are there any questions?
Carl, can you address this?
It is a policy that needs to be updated and changed. It's a cafeteria, they have no leave, they have nothing, so frankly, this is a policy that is, Nick, and I'll say it right here, right now tonight, before we get to September, this policy needs to be fixed. Jump to the head of the line.
Thank you.
This is like month 6 in a row that this, that we've had it.
Correct.
So,
I mean,
just that is policy three?
yeah. And what it is, unfortunately, it's an area where the people don't get any compensation on,
It's 2 hours a day.
yeah, the 2 hours a day, they don't have an unemployment any compensation for that, or any time that they can build up or get anything off of it. So this is the only way it has to be filled by this means. And it's just gonna get kind of creative for Nick and his team, to carry that on.
I will say that Nick and I did look at this policy earlier this year when this kept coming up, and the way it's written in policy, because they don't have any time available to them, is that Tim can approve up to 5 of those. And then if it's anything beyond that, then it has to come to the committee. So, like, we can take a look at it, but it would be extending the number of times that Tim can
I think we
approve
need
it.
to extend the number of, in my personal opinion, extend the number of times, but also stipulate the number of hours or departments that they're in, and stipulates that they're not granted any compensation. Because knowing the way things are, somebody say, well, you know, they're gonna go there and get a teacher or something, but it, in my personal opinion.
Item G is approval of the behavior specialist contract with Elizabeth Reinhardt. It must be voted on by the board in accordance with policy. This position is grant funded for the 24-25 school year and will also be grant funded for the 25-26 school year. Are there any questions?
Just renewal, that's it. Okay.
That's it.
Now, my question is, if I'm not stepping on you, I'm sorry. The behavior specialist, you say it's fully covered by a grant again this coming year. Does that grant extend beyond 2026?
No.
To be determined by the state budget.
Okay.
Process.
Okay. We'll put it up.
At the current time, it stops at, it was a 2-year grant.
Any other questions? Item H is approval of the updated athletic director job description. Departure of our current athletic director, it was a priority to review and update our athletic director job description, which has not been updated in many years, to align it with our current goals, priorities, and expectations of the role. Are there any questions?
I just want to know how it's updated, I don't know if I can, if that has to be executive session too, or,
I don't.
we're just coming into,
This is personnel as a person. We went through this and really made sure that we were efficient with it, and many things that were done were removed to be placed into an athletic director type of handbook or material to provide. What it appeared to be previously was a job description that was partially incomplete and just ill-advised at the time. So we wanted to update it, make sure it was efficient, and put everything together.
I mean, I see it here, I just didn't know what the whole one was. Okay,
And there's a lot of stuff that didn't need to be done.
yeah, okay. Thank you.
Everybody go on personnel.
Yep.
Yes.
Moving on to CCNP. Items A through D are recommended updates to board policy as brought forward by the Curriculum Co-Curriculum Policy Committee. In accordance with state law and our policy 003, the board shall exercise leadership through its rulemaking power by adopting procedures and policies for the organization and operation of the district. Item A is the first reading of policies reviewed by the CCNP committee this month. And item B is the final adoption of policies that were reviewed and were on the agenda for a first reading last month. Are there any questions on policies in A or B?
Yes. Can we get the board back to curriculum, please?
Is there any discussion that we want to have on there?
Why don't you tell us your concerns?
Yeah.
I've already been through this a couple times. What we were told prior about the inhalers and the EpiPens does not read that way in this policy. Danielle as well has some concerns.
elaborate.
So, if you actually look at the policy for number 5, why are we having the child demonstrate to the nurse if they have to bring in a note saying the doctor already seen them do it and they are capable of doing it? Since when does a nurse trump a doctor's orders? That's what I want to know. And then, why are we notifying the nurse when it's used? They might as well just go down to the nurse and use it. Like that,
Is this
it's counterproductive.
It might be a school, for like law or something, I don't know. Well, it's not required by.
So,
I don't know.
I'll answer the second question, okay? We got some guidance, since the committee meeting that it's not a requirement to the developers.
So that
So
needs
if
taken off.
we kick it back to the committee, we can take that out. What the committee agreed to on Tuesday night was to add student or teacher, so it didn't have to be a student going to the nurse, but rather, it could be some type of education, like a teacher sending an email, so that Sally administered that medication. Just for the sole fact